Get ready for the next battle, let me run your fade. Quarters up, hands down, it's the juice cake. Hey, how's it going? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Juicecade. I am your host, Winston, and we're going to cover a few topics that happened in the past week. But first, before we get to the main topics, I'm going to share a couple clips with you that I found pretty cool on Twitter. Check it out.
Player 1 wins! Ready, go! Excellent!
The first thing I should probably talk about on this channel, if you didn't already hear, is that Tekken 8 was announced about a week ago. We had a teaser at Evolution 2022 or EVO 2022. After the Tekken tournament, we had a little image or a little clip of Kazuya throwing Heihachi off a cliff, and it switched to new gen graphics with Kazuya's face saying "Get ready," and people didn't know what it was, whether it was a Tekken Tag 2 or Tekken, our mainstay Tekken game. We had no idea. Now that everyone knows it's a mainline Tekken game, people are generally pretty happy, pretty excited about it. And people have some concerns about it, mainly about the netcode and how rollback netcode should be the standard moving forward. I personally have my own opinions about rollback netcode, but I'll leave that for another video if I ever talk about it. In this trailer, you see Jin versus Kazuya facing off at the end of the world. I'm going to play a clip of it while I'm talking about it, but it seems catastrophic, like that the world's coming to an end, and like the fight is like hinging on these two fighting, almost like the fate of the world is hanging in the balance. That's just speculation. I don't actually know the story. No one knows the story at this point, but since Kazuya has finally dealt with, and I'm not saying killed, but dealt with Heihachi, because Tekken has a tendency to, revive people. We don't know if Heihachi's going to be back, but it's down to Kazuya and Jin to, duke it out and see what that brings to the rest of the world. Tekken 8 has had a pretty wild story through the years. I mean, I'm not a Tekken expert, so I couldn't tell you every little nook and cranny of the story, but I know for the major plot points that it's been like really tossy and turny. So it's up to the devs to take us on the ride from here. I can tell you that personally, I'm really excited for a new Tekken game to come out. I mean, I'm excited when new fighting games come out in general, but Tekken 8, I used to play that a lot on the PS3 with my friends and my homies, and it was always a good time. So I'm excited to see what Tekken brings forth. Alright, for this next story. TGS, or Tokyo Game Show, has recently happened this past weekend, and then with it, a cascade of new information about Street Fighter 6. I'm pretty sure most of you know by now what they announced, but I'm going to go over it briefly for those that happen upon my video. Okay, first off, director Nakayama and producer Matsumoto have revealed 4 franchise staples returning to Street Fighter 6. We got Ken, we got Blanca, we got E Honda, and we got Dhalsim. Each character is sporting a brand new look and new moves to boot. If you want a more in-depth analysis on the characters and what they're bringing to the table, may I recommend either VeserArcade or the main man himself, Maximilian Dood. I'll link them both in the description. Next thing they showed off was the World Tour mode. And if you don't already know, World Tour mode is a single player mode for Street Fighter 6. It originated back in Street Fighter Alpha 3, but you didn't really get to create a character, you had to select from the roster. They brought World Tour back to Street Fighter 6, but with a twist. You get to create your own character. And the character creator is surprisingly in-depth. There's a lot of options, a lot of ways you can express yourself freely while making your character. And I think generally it's pretty cool. And on top of customizing and creating your own character, you get to bring your character to an open world map, which is literally unheard of in a Street Fighter game. In this open world map, you'll be seeking out and learning from the masters or the roster characters from the game. So you'll be learning their skills, learning their movesets, and adapting them to your own playstyle. And with the moves that you learn, you'll be able to do cool stuff like traverse the map and find secret areas. It's pretty nifty stuff, man. On top of that, it's not just one area or one city. It seems like there's multiple locations you can travel to, which probably will house the reside the masters of each area that you can learn from. So I personally think this is the coolest stuff out there. I'm really excited for this game, really jazzed for the single player mode of a Street Fighter game. I don't think anyone has ever said that. Yeah, it's all pretty cool stuff. Alright, the next thing they showed off was the Battle Hub. And this is an area where you can bring your created character to and socialize and meet other people's created character and just have a general, a gathering and a social experience inside Street Fighter 6. Additionally, in the Battle Hub, there will be arcades where you can play older Capcom titles. There will be tournaments and events hosted inside the Battle Lounge to give you a reason to or a reason to come back to it every day and have a good time with your friends or whoever you're playing the game with. It's honestly an awesome, it looks like an awesome experience. It's giving me some PlayStation at Home vibes, if you guys even remember what that is. It was an old social thing back on the PS3. I spent a lot of time on there. Far too much, to be honest. Okay, now something smaller that they announced. They announced an extreme mode for multiplayer. And what that extreme mode is, it's a fun romp that you can play with your friends and family offline. We don't know if it's online, to be granted. It could be in player matches also, but generally I think this is going to be just an offline or strictly an offline mode. And what you can do is you can change the rule set of a standard 1v1 match. So instead of your traditional health bars, beating up the person till their life falls to zero, you can change it to like a point-based system where you can knock them down a certain amount of times to clinch a match or a round. Additionally, you can change other effects about the match. You can have bombs drop from the sky, or Tesla coils that shock you, or a bull that rams you out of nowhere. Honestly, this is some wild stuff, and I think it's duly needed for Street Fighter, especially for like fun game modes to bring in the casual audience. To be honest, I think one or two characters are going to be absolutely broken in this game mode. I think characters like Dawson, who can just levitate above a bull or the bombs and just pick you off and snipe you from across the screen. I think they're going to be pretty good at this. It's refreshing that Capcom is trying to innovate and, revitalize Street Fighter, make it more like a social thing where people can get together and not strictly ranked in player match and blase, a crappy story mode, which personally, for what it was, I enjoyed the Street Fighter V story mode. Hot take, but I can agree that it wasn't the best story mode. Alright, now for the meat and potatoes of this, the big thing that was announced, arguably the biggest thing that was announced, was a closed beta test. Capcom has decided to have a closed beta test for Street Fighter 6 and for a selected few or selected hundreds of people or how many ever people to test the servers and test the functionality of Street Fighter 6. I advise anyone that wanted to sign up for this to go and sign up for this. I will link it in the description so you don't have to worry about it. Just click the link. But it's not if you're worried about not getting in, it's not a first come first serve basis. They will, pick and choose, or it's going to be like a luck of the draw thing. So anyone can get in and we have no idea. Presumably the influencers are going to get in, like Maximilian or all the higher up people that cover fighting games. But for us general folk, it's going to be like a lottery system. So please sign up. The closed beta will be from October 7th to October 10th, and it will be available on PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, and then Steam. The modes that'll be available will be ranked match, casual match, They'll have an open tournament. They'll have the battle hub. They'll have training. Like, it's like a whole kit and caboodle of stuff that they want to test out. So please, I advise you to sign in or sign up for this beta test. Just a heads up, you will need a Capcom ID to sign up for the beta test. But don't worry about it. When you click the link and sign up for the beta test, they will ask you to create a Capcom ID. So they got you covered. Please note, it's not going to be a perfect experience. It's not a demo, it's a beta test. So things are going to be jank, things are going to be probably running pretty iffy at best, and there's probably going to be a lot of disconnects. Hopefully not, but this is what this is all for, so they can iron out all the wrinkles and make a better experience for when the game releases. Not only that, there will be a survey that goes out to people that get into the closed beta, so you can leave your feedback of your experience presumably, and let them know your concerns, let them know that they can work on all that stuff. Oh, silly me, I neglected to mention one of the modes or one of the things you'll be able to do in this closed beta is create your character, which I would assume carries over to the actual game. The roster of the characters that you'll be able to fight with go as follows. There'll be Luke, Jamie, Ryu, Chun-Li, Guile, Kimberly, Juri, and Ken. And the playable stages, I'm just listing them off the screen in front of me, will be Metro City Downtown, Genbu Temple, Carrier Byron Taylor, Tianhong Yuan, the Macho Ring, and Training Room. Unfortunately, PS4 is not included, so if you have a PS4, you're out of luck. Hopefully you have a Steam account or something that can compensate for that. And as a special bonus for those that get into the closed beta, you'll receive an in-game title for, just participating. So it doesn't hurt to sign up. Go on, sign up, baby. Also, you should be just aware if you're running a lower end PC, you should check the specs on what you need to run it on Steam, just in case you might not be up to snuff, Just to, you don't want to have a bad experience. I personally want to get into this closed beta because, Street Fighter is my favorite fighting game series of all time. Not only that, I want to play with the new stuff, man. It's Street Fighter 6. It's brand new. People are going to be learning stuff for the first time. Just everyone's going to have a good time learning and adapting, finding techniques, finding just new stuff about the game. That being said, let me know what you think about the whole Street Fighter news in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. All right, the last topic I want to cover is the whole Matt Mcmuscles drama that's currently going on. If you don't know who Matt Mcmuscles is, he is a YouTube creator that started the whole Wha Happun series. What the Wha Happun series is, it goes into in-depth analysis about video games, about studios, about movies sometimes, and it's generally very insightful to find out what happened to those kinds of media behind the scenes. The video in question comes from his worst fighting game series, and as the name implies, he covers the worst fighting games of all time, kind of. And the game that he covered this time was Street Fighter the movie, the game, where he and Maximilian went, in depth about the mechanics and the presentation of it and gave their opinions about it. Well, it seems some people on the internet, Twitter, the land that doesn't exist, took offense to this because, it came off as an attack. Is there, a cult classic. Street Fighter the movie, the game, it's a mouthful, has a cult following and people that actively play it today. We got people with opinions like Vicky here that say, to be honest, if you unironically buy into the SF movie, bad movie / game stuff in 2022, you should just get a better opinion and better sense of humor. We got opinions like from my man Guardian here saying, I'm not trying to be negative about the community / taking the bait, but my God, if you're even betting it with this as worst fighting game, then congrats on playing no more than 7 fighting games over the course of your life and also living under a rock for the last year, I guess. Or one word mic drop moments from my man Mitch Zesty here that says, mouth breathers. Since then, Matt Mcmuscles has addressed the whole situation that's going on in the following statement. It's a decent sized thread, so, bear with me. Street Fighter the movie, like many fighting games, is janky and unbalanced. It's also packed with some crazy depth you can absolutely have fun with. I've received multiple requests to tackle it on The Worst Fighting Games, a show where I take a look at bad fighting games in closer detail. Street Fighter the movie is nowhere near Criticom levels. If you don't know, Criticom was an old bad game essentially. which was the initial inspiration for this series. A number of people have looked at the thumbnail for the video and drawn conclusions which I never intended, and I'm sorry for that first impression, as I consider myself a fan of Street Fighter the movie. As stated in the video, the arcade version has crazy ahead of its time mechanics and a wackiness we don't often see in Street Fighter, which is why I rated it higher than any other game previously ranked, although I see why some may be upset seeing that the game is on the worst fighting game. As a fan, I've seen plenty of love from the passionate Street Fighter the movie community, and I appreciate how much time and effort they've put into it, so I regret not including the section highlighting the community that champions it in spite of my typical format of these videos. I've pinned a comment to the video about the @fraud crew and directed viewers to resources to learn more. I aim to create a silly generalized video for those unaware of the game's lineage, and while showing every detail about Street Fighter the movie isn't possible, the video was made with love for it. I've gotten comments from fans outside of the SGC expressing new interest in the game, as they were unaware of how over the top the gameplay could be. Yes, I poke fun at it, but regardless of my intent, I see now that the framing used in the video could lead to poor impressions, essentially. In my opinion, what I saw from Mcmuscles' videos, there wasn't really any animosity towards the game. He explained that the game was very underdeveloped, very rushed, and the mechanics didn't necessarily work very well for how wacky and zany it was. Again, it was ahead of its time. Now, what I gleaned from Mcmuscles' videos about Street Fighter movie, the game...
Why are we still here? Just to suffer every night.
...is that there was no animosity for the game. He just went through the mechanics and how they felt, and I'm inclined to agree with him, having played the game. Street Fighter the movie, the game, regardless of what you think, is jank and wacky. I'm not... Good is subjective. Like, if you think the game is good, that's fine. That's on you. I have my fair share of jank games that I love. It's a win-win for everybody that games exist in general. But him and Max... Slam Master! Him and Max were clearly just poking fun at the game. There was no level of animosity towards it. It was fun for the sake of fun. They pointed out the wackiness and how undercooked it felt, but you can still derive joy from the undercooked bits. It's not the worst game ever, yes, and that's not what I gleaned from the video anyway, but all things considered, it's still a jank game. Again, I must reiterate that if you enjoy the game, that's fine, that's okay. You're a human being, you're allowed to love what you love, but people are going to have differing opinions about the game. If you think it's a 10 out of 10 game and it's the best game ever, cool, fine, that's great, but not everyone's going to see it that way. What I want to say is you should support your community. You should always support your community. But on the same token, don't always take things so seriously. You may have your small little niche community, but at the end of the day, we're all FGC, baby. So enjoy yourself. And there you go. Those are all the topics I wanted to talk about today. I'm excited for Tekken 8. I'm excited for Street Fighter 6. And shoot, man, whatever lies ahead. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you have any opinions or any criticisms, I'm going to take them both. I'm going to read them, so don't worry about that. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, do all that fancy stuff. And until next time, have fun, guys.